Hello again, and don't I look old on this screen? I mean, I tried playing with the contrast to lose a few of these wrinkles, but it doesn't seem to have worked. Right, starting off with a question. KJ Mulder, and he's the guy that did the artwork on those bookmarks that you may have seen if you've bought books from him. He starts off with, please explain string theory and the possible impact of quantum computers on our daily lives. When will we see actual orgs become reality? Then thankfully he moves on. Joking aside, how's the whole short story experiment going on Kindle going? Any plans on branching out to other ebook sellers? Kobo jumps to mind. Well, I haven't really done any short stories on Kindle. I've done a couple of novellas. The one short story that's on there, Snow in the Desert, that was put up by Macmillan as a publicity exercise. Yeah, I might branch out to other ebook sellers if I've got the time to look into it, find out how it all works. I mean, the one thing I do know is that if you put books up on Kindle, which seems to be the biggest seller, you get 70% of the cover price. If you branch out to other ebook sellers, or you're on Kindle, you can only get something like 30% of the cover price. So I don't know which would work, and I'm not even sure if I've got the time to look into it very much. Maybe later on I will. Now, Alexander Cruel asks, if someone wanted to start reading all polity stories, would you suggest to read them in order of publication or in internal chronological order? I don't know. I get so many different. If people enjoy my books, as far as I can gather, if they pick up a copy of Brassman, they're not losing a great deal by reading that first, and then getting into the whole thing and reading it in order at a later date. I'm aware that there are people in America who read my books who don't even realise that there's a book called The Line of Polity between Gridlington and Brassman, because it was never published out there. How would I suggest they read them? I don't know. If people ask me that, I try to assess what kind of stuff they like reading and then suggest something like, for example, if I know that they like reading short stories, then I'll say, oh, try the Gavel first. If they're perhaps not as heavily into science fiction as some people are, I would say pick up one of the small ones first, like Prey to Moon or Shadow of the Scorpion. But I guess I would go for chronological order. At least you'll pick up everything then. Okay, next one, which is of course a silly one from Bob Locke. As you're proficient with a video camera, well, I have to stop there first. I'm not. All I've got is this laptop thingy here. I'm sure if I was proficient, I would have something much better. Have tempted your followers with hints of your keep fit regime through dancing to the Wii console, don't you think it's about time to release a keep fit video for us dedicated fans? We could download and follow your regime, thereby perhaps becoming fitter, live longer, and be able to buy more of your books. Good try, Bob. It ain't gonna happen. End of that. Okay. Back to KJ Mulder again. Since you are so far ahead of your schedule, will we get to see that fantasy series dusted off sometime soon? I'd love to see what the Asher magic does in the realm of fantasy. Right. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. What is going to happen? I've done Pennyroyal 1, Pennyroyal 2. I'm now past 90,000 words for Pennyroyal 3. And I suspect I'll have all three to first draft within a couple of months. I will spend a number of months going through them, making alterations, additions, cleaning them up as best as possible. And also I've got to write out synopses, um, the blurbs for the backs of the books, things like that. Once I've done all that, I'm going to be under less pressure. And I mean, let's be honest here, the pressure I put myself under is the pressure I put myself under. I'm going to have a go at some more short stories, longer bits and pieces, stuff to send off to places like Asimov's and so forth. And I might get bored with that after a little while, and then maybe I might have a look at that fantasy. I might even have a look at the contemporary novel I've got sitting in my files. Who knows? Now, right, wrong mouse. James WMH asks, which technology from any of your books would you most like to see become a reality? Well, straight away, I would like to be downloaded into, or uploaded, depending on which way you're going to put it, into a Golem chassis. Technology I'd like to see? Well, the life extension, of course. Because once you've got the life extension, everything else becomes possible. You know, if you've got to wait, I don't know, 800 years for a star drive, say, well, you know, you can do it. Right now, I can't. So it would be life extension. Definitely that. And maybe the Polity's got a good anti-wrinkle cream. Now, next one. Roban. All right. No, he's asking me to do something else. He says, do a reading from one of your short stories, or read out an unused section from your sci-fi bits file. Yes, I could do that. I mean, I think I've done 2 readings at most. Yeah, maybe later. Okay. Unknown. Oh, no. Anyway, I'm Ian. Unknown, Ian. In your recently published novella, The Other Gun, that was in Asimov's magazine, you describe a hive organism that is able to perpetually renew itself, barring radical obliteration. Would you imagine such an organism being able to reproduce itself, say in the manner of an insect hive founding a new colony? I'm grinning at that, but I'll tell you later. Or would its virtual immortality make that unnecessary? Well, you actually said it in your brackets there, in the manner of a insect hive founding a new colony. I mean, even as I wrote about that creature, I considered that kind of thing, though of course it wasn't necessary for that story, but it's a nice idea because perhaps I could bring that creature back in another form in something else. But yeah, I would imagine this creature grows in a chain. It is perpetually giving birth to new forms of itself, which remain attached to it, and at the top end, perpetually dying. And yes, it would reproduce just like any social insect. There would be a period when drones and queens would go off at some point, mate, and start a new hive or a new hive creature. So yeah, that's how it would work. Jez Central. Damn, you said in the clip, this is the previous clip, you know, which these questions appear. You said in the clip that there was never a hardback of Line of Polity. That would explain why I haven't found one. When did the hardbacks first? When did they start? His first was Cow. Al, it works like this. The first three books published by Macmillan were Gridlinked, uh, Bugger, The Skinner, and The Line of Polity. Now, because I wasn't a known writer then, all they did was release them as large format paperbacks, which are usually for export, and as market paperbacks. I mean, very limited print runs. If you get hold of a large format paperback or gridlink, that will just be one of, I think, about 1,000 copies. It was only after those first three books that they then went, yeah, okay, he's well known enough to for us to start doing some hardbacks. So they started doing hardbacks. So yeah, you got your hardbacks of Cowl and Brassman and so on, which came after. The reason you can get hardbacks of just Gridlinked and the Skinner, which weren't published in hardback in the UK, is because they were taken on by Tor US. So those were US hardbacks. But Tor US, for reasons which are still opaque to me, never published The Line of Polity. I mean, I mentioned it earlier about, I know that there are US readers who don't even know that The Line of Polity exists. They read Gridlinked and then they read Brassman and they were fine missing that book out. Yes, so that's why you won't get A Line of Polity. Never published in hardback in England, never published in hardback in America. Next one. Yodinator. Do you have a favourite character or book or series of books? And which ones were the most enjoyable for me to work on, and why? Favourite character or book, or series of books? Well, a lot of my favourite characters appear in the Skinner, and a lot of my favourite characters appear in the Polity books, but two books are very high on the list, and that would be the Skinner and Brassman. Characters, of course, I mean, they're the same characters that you like. Mr. Crane, Sniper, the old captains, ones like that. But then again, I like my own books in different ways. I mean, I still love Cal, and the later books I'm doing. I mean, The Departure. I mean, I like Alan Saul. I mean, he's not a very likeable character, but he's a very enjoyable one to write about. That's about it, I think, yeah. Whether I've answered you or not, I'm not sure, because I'm waffling. Okay, Bob Locke is going to have a serious question now. Oh dear. A serious question now. Do you ever sit at a keyboard and be at a loss over where the story is going, or, if about to start a new book, have difficulty getting started? Have you, or did you, ever write quite a large amount of content and then decide it wasn't going the way you wanted and scrap it all? And if so, what was the most you've ever binned to start again? Right. Yes, I do get at a loss a little bit as to where the story is going, but not for very long. Just keep writing and the ideas keep coming. I never have really any difficulty getting started. What I have difficulties with is finishing, because it would be it's very easy to just, well, it's easy for me to say, but it's very easy for me to just keep on writing something and telling a story and having all sorts of action happen, but you have to wind it up and you have to do it in a manner which is satisfying for you, satisfying for me, completes. Even if it's part of a series, it must complete to a certain extent. So yeah, I have more difficulty finishing than I have starting. tying off all the plot threads, bringing about satisfying resolution. Right, have I ever written quite a large amount of content and decided it wasn't going where I wanted to scrap it all? Yes. That was with the line of polity. Before I got taken on by Macmillan, I found out about writers' bursaries that can be presented to people. They can actually pay. You get payment so that you can get on with writing something. And what you needed to do was send in some samples of the work that you were working on, and a full synopsis. Now that was the line of polity. I sent in the first few chapters that I'd written. I think, well, no, yeah, I think it was about 30,000 words at the start of the book, and a full synopsis of the book. That didn't come off, obviously, and it was on the basis of that synopsis and so on that Macmillan took it on, along with Gridlington and Skinner. What happened then was, when I actually came to write the line of polity, I looked at what I'd already done, and I looked at the synopsis, and it's daft, but because I've got the synopsis there and I knew what was going to happen, I was bored with it. So I started again, and I think out of 30,000 words, I probably dumped 28,000, something like that. Unfortunately, it's not something I retained, so it's not available anymore. But yeah, that's what I did. I dumped a great lump of it and the synopsis and just started again. Bored with it. Okay, that's your question answered. Jez Central again. How long did the polity take to develop as an idea? There are hints of it in The Parasite, but in Gridlink it seems pretty well thought through. Okay, I'll answer that bit first. It developed in my short stories. I started visualising the technology. The Prader appeared in a short story called Always With You, which I wrote, oh god, a long time ago now. Anyway, I started developing it with the short stories, and yes, there was a bit in The Parasite and so on. When I came to write Gridlinked, I wanted to start something which could be inclusive of any story I wanted to tell, and obviously I told an awful lot of stories. So when I wrote Gridlinked, I was thinking in terms of all the short stories that I'd done, and made it so that every one of those could be set in this new universe that I was writing about, this polity. So yes, it developed over the short stories and then came to fruition in Gridlinked. Also, how far ahead do you make decisions about the events concerning Gabbleducks, Horace Blegg, Hooders, etc.? So it's a bit vague, I know, but no one likes a spoiler. How far ahead? I don't. I think if anybody's learned anything about the way that I write, I do it at the keyboard. Yes, I've got some vague ideas ahead of what is coming up. I mean, for example, in these Pennyroll books, I have got sort of the ending sitting up here ready. How I get there, and all the other stories, all the other subplots, and how they're going to work out, I have no idea. I do it at the keyboard. Don't plan these things out. Don't think that far ahead. Right, we have another one from Jez Central. Also, have you ever seen an insect in Crete or the UK and thought, I have to put that in my book? Yes. Yeah. It's funny, in Crete, a house there, one of the little visitors we get is about this big scorpions. They'll come in, you'll see them on crawling up a wall and so on. I mean, when we were very first there, staying there during the winter, in the middle of the night, I heard a little thud on the pillow beside me, and thought, I knew it was a scorpion because we were having a bad time anyway, and I thought, yeah, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be that shitty. Turn the light on, and yet there was a scorpion on the pillow. Now, all around about this time, like when we first visited Crete, first holiday in Crete, I was actually writing Shadow of the Scorpion longhand. In fact, it wasn't called Shadow of the Scorpion, really. But yes, you've got the scorpion drone in it. But that is entirely coincidental, because I didn't even know then that Crete had scorpions. But other insects, yes. Cicadas, the sound of the cicadas, that's useful. I mean, some of the big insects. I mean, there's not too much. The things there, it's not like you're in Africa or somewhere like that. Well, you're not far off, I must admit, but there's not that many insects that are too huge and horrible and off-putting or whatever. If there was any insect that sticks in my mind, that I think I have put in a short story, it was a beetle. And it was only, get my hand up here, yeah, it was only about this big. But the reason I remember it so well is that its carapace was emerald, sort of a metallic emerald colour, absolutely beautiful. So yes, I've used that in a short story or a book. I'm not sure where I used it. Now, KJ Mulder is taking the piss here because we had this discussion on Twitter. What's your opinion on the use of decimation? Well, I'm still old school on that, in that I don't like to use it unless it's being used in its old literal semi-literal sense of decimation. Was when the Roman legions were punished for some infraction, and 1 in 10 of the troops was executed. So when I apply it to something, it's that kind of fraction. Like if the forces were decimated, then 1 in 10 of them was wiped out. So yeah, I like to stick to that. Apparently now you can use it for sort of wiping out of most of something, which is still strikes me as wrong. Well, have we got any more yet? Does this mean we can add some more questions? This is KJ Mulder again, because I was going to do this videotape recording last weekend, but I didn't. Where do short stories fit in? Are they used more as a marketing tool in science fiction magazines, anthologies, as opposed to being saleable items by themselves? Unless you put them out in a short... Well, both. And also because I enjoy doing them. I enjoy writing short stories. They always work as a marketing tool, because there will always be a little biog talking about my other books and so on at the start of the story or at the end of the story. But they're also a saleable item, because some markets like Asimov's and so on, they pay a decent amount of money for a short story. Also, you can have a short story will appear in Asimov's. I mean, I've had it happen where they're taken up for anthologies like the Year's Best Of or a Garden of Dezoy's collection, and you get paid again for that. And then later on, I can put them out in my own anthology, if you like. I mean, for example, The Gabble, short story in that, Alien Archaeology. Was it that one? Might have been, but anyway, some of the short stories in that appeared in Asimov's, they appeared in Year's Best collections, and then they've appeared in that anthology, so effectively you're selling it 3 times. So yeah, they are a saleable item by themselves. James WMH again. Do you ever wish you could go back to an earlier book in a series and change things to make something in a future book fit better? Yeah, of course I do. That's the problem with it. I mean, once it's published, it's out there, and then you've got to make the ensuing books fit. This is why I'm enjoying doing what I'm doing, writing the Pennyroll trilogy all in one hit, so that I can do that. I can go back, I can alter things in the very first book, chop out characters, chop out thread lines, weave in new thread lines, which I have in fact just done with the second book. Yeah, I mean, I would love to go back to them. Some of them, like Gridland. There are changes I would like to make in that. I mean, there are still people that don't quite get the ending on that, and I know that now I could make it a lot clearer. Bob Log. Hope it's not too late. This stems from a dream I had last night about writing and an idea that grew from it. Do you think you'd ever be tempted to collaborate on a book with someone? Cough. No. Sorry, but no. It's my stuff. That's it. That's all for now. See ya.